How's it going, everyone? VenomousStare. Another Protoss video for you today. This time, it's a ZVP on one of my favorite maps in the pool. And today we need to focus on proxy hatcheries because it's something that a lot of Zergs can do if they cheese. A lot of like the Zerg early pool builds have been phased out in Legacy of the Void since you start with so many drones, so people kind of try these proxy hatch builds and other little weird cheeses sometimes. So the guy I'm playing is doing just that. His name's Sai. He's doing double drone scout, and if you don't know on this map, you can either, so Sai's in the bottom right, I can either spawn close positions directly across or close by air. You can't spawn cross on this map. So as usual, I'm going Nexus first. Everything's standard there. So after I go Nexus first, I'll immediately start my wall. I always start forage because hypothetically if I scout and see a really greedy hatchery build, I can cannon rush. But it also gives me the ability to put down defensive cannons early, which is very useful for defense. So here I see his drone, and I saw it meandering out here on the edge of the fog of war. If your opponent ever meanders with their scouting unit, you should be suspicious, because there's no reason really to delay, because it can't be caught by anything early game. So I looked around my base. I think I would have seen it anyway, but I immediately see his hatch. So let's talk about the response. I immediately put a pylon down right by the hatchery. I'm seeing his base finally. I'm starting to scout. I see a gas in a pool and crucially no expansion. So I can deduce that this is a dedicated cheese of some sort and I should be scared. If I saw an expansion here, I would be significantly less scared about this because then it might just be a fake. He's probably going to cancel and just make drones. But he's on one base and he's taking gas, so I should be scared. My priority right now is to get a zealot out to complete my wall because he's probably going to attack my front with something. And then I put the cannon down immediately as soon as I have the money. Now as this hatchery gets closer to completion, I have to decide what I want to do. It's kind of like in poker whenever like you have the flop and then the rest of the cards come down. The flop is like when the hatch gets to half health and then you have to make a decision, and then 3/4 is the turn, and then when it's almost finished is the river. So on the turn I put another cannon down and he was like, well, this one already finished, it's going to die, I'm not going to be able to make anything, not even a queen. So because I made the other cannon, he was forced to cancel, and then after that he canceled, his drone died, which was fine, that's what he should have done, but then I just canceled my cannon and made a gate and a cyber. So that's how you deal with proxy hatch. You have to wait, play it, you have to wait, see what they're going to do, and just dedicate the appropriate amount of resources while sealing your front door, and then force their hand into either canceling or committing to a bad, or letting it finish and committing to a bad rush. Because if he had just let that finish, the second cannon would have finished and it would have died without being able to produce anything significant. So now he's behind because he was really relying on that proxy hatch to irritate me and then hopefully soften my front door. I think he also expected me to make a zealot, run it immediately to the proxy hatch and start working on it. But since I probe scouted and scouted his gas, I was able to deduce that he was probably going to be doing speedling or roach or something I needed to have a sealed front door for. So as cheesy players do, he follows up with another cheese. He makes a hatch at my third, takes his own natural, and he can't even spend his money because he doesn't have any enough larvae, and he's going a Ling style. This is obnoxious as Zerg whenever you try to cheese and then go into macro. Oftentimes if you have a lot of drones, if you're always making Lings, you just don't have the larvae to do what you want to do. So he's making 2 hatches and an offensive one to compensate for that. So it's my follow-up. I chrono warp gate, which is important because I want to have that as soon as possible. I get a Twilight as well, +1 is on the way, because if you're getting cheesed by Zerg and you have +1 ground weapons, your Adepts and your Zealots are going to do very well versus Ling-based builds, and they will oftentimes with SimCity just shut them down completely. So my +1 weapons completes, which is huge because he's doing a Ling Bane all in. And notice I've gotten 2 more gates as well as 1 more in my base, a robo and a sentry. So I immediately activate the overcharge on the mothership core and then put a sentry force field down to prevent my pylon from being destroyed. My zealot from being destroyed, excuse me. This made him waste all of his banes on my pylon. My warp gate's finished. I waited probably a bit too late to activate that second charge, but I had been making a stalker in my main. The chrono boost allowed me to get warp gate right at the correct moment. The cannon from the proxy hatch defense cleans up the link counter, and now all I have to do is focus on containing this front door and not getting busted again. So immediately start to rebuild your wall, Donald style. Don't dedicate all, even though I'm floating a bit here, I should probably make a few extra cannons. Don't dedicate all of your resources to remaking a huge pylon and cannon wall, because if he has a decent economy, he'll just remake a bunch of banes and kill you. Focus on making units, and units that defend well. We know he's going mass Ling and he's dedicated to Ling Bane, and we can deduce based on how many Lings he made in the early game that he doesn't really have the economy to transfer into something else significant. So what does that mean? It means we can continue to produce units that counter Ling Bane. Adepts, Zealots, and Immortals. I probably should have made a few more sentries as well as a few more gates. The problem was I was kind of fouled up. I perpetually wanted to take my third this game, but every time I was about to go out and take it, he attacked again. But my second Immortal's about to finish, and the shield ability is so good versus all-ins. And you just force field, anytime he tries to run in, you just force field the weak point of your wall with your units and make him attack through these big beefy buildings. And continue to build up your army. My macro was not even good this game. I should have built 2 more additional gates. That's one thing I should definitely alter in the future, and you should do too if you try to copy something like this. But as I said, I intended on taking a third. I didn't really think that he was this all in. I thought that he potentially had made a few more drones. But it is what it is. He left. He probably could have drawn out this game, but he didn't. This is a diamond level game if you were wondering, and if you enjoyed, subscribe.